Please join me in Gasho. Namandavs, 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 Namandavs.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us for the November Shotsuki monthly memorial service and also the Eitaikyo service. We begin this morning with the Mokuzo, the silent meditation, followed by the Shomyo, led by Reverend Grant.
Sorry, everyone, just making sure everything is okay. And people on Zoom can hear me okay? Yes, okay, good. Just wait till Roy Sensei comes. We will sit quietly, silent meditation. Namandavs, 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 Namandavs.
Please turn to page 325 in the purple Seitan for the Vandana and the Tisarana.
For those of you who are joining at home, it is also on your screen. Namandavs, Namandavs, Namandavs. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Buddham saranam gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. Dhamma saranam gacchami. I go to the Dharma for guidance. Sangam saranam gacchami. I go to the Sangha for guidance. No one else.
For those who are able to, would you please stand and turn to the Gatha Nimbutsu on page 340. Please be seated. Now we begin the sutra chanting, the Sambujo on page 89, followed by the Sambutsuge on page 73. During the chanting, I will be calling the family names, and you could come up and do Oshoko. If your family name is called second time, please come up and just do Gasho. Thank you.
Namandavs, 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 namandavs. If you just join me in reading the English translation that you'll see at the bottom of page 89. We respectfully call upon Tathagata Amida to enter the dojo as we joyfully scatter flowers of welcome. We respectfully call upon Tathagata Shakyamuni to enter this dojo as we joyfully scatter flowers of welcome. We respectfully call upon Tathagatas of the 10 directions to enter this dojo as we joyfully scatter flowers of welcome. 本日、ここにうやうやしく三仏牽制の小学を仰ぎ、慎みてスティーブストン仏教会2022年11月小月法要並びに永代教法要を言収す。如来へ向の真実心をもって法恩の誠をいたし、仏徳を三端し立て祀る。願わくは如来の大慈大悲心をもって無料の功徳一切主情の上に栄光をしたまわらんことを、ナモキエ仏、ナモキエ法、ナモキエ僧。We have gathered here this morning in the quietude of Amida's temple to commemorate the November 2022 Shotsuki monthly memorial service, in which we remember loved ones who have passed on during this month of November. Also in conjunction, we are also observing the 2022 Eitaikyo Perpetual Memorial Service. We faithfully recite the Nembutsu and humbly join our hands in Gassho. May the fragrance of incense teach us the purity of our intentions. May the beauty of the flowers offered remind us of the glory of the Dhamma. And may the lights that burn brightly upon the altar lead our thoughts to Amida's eternal light of wisdom and boundless compassion that dispels the darkness of our ignorance. No mandos. No.
Asari Yasuko, Ataki Hisako, Furukawa Yoshiko, Haya Tetsuo, Hikida Hoji, Hikida Tamizo, Hirota Hikuyo, Hori Masakazu, Hori Ayako, Hori Matsue, Imada Kimiyo, Kariya Iwajiro, Kawamoto Kaoru, Kawano Hideo, Kawase Sato, Kokubo Aiko, Hiriyama Masaji, Matsuba Edith Ayako, Miyazaki Shizue, Miyazaki Tora, Mizuguchi Peggy,
니노 시시 진도금무려 그근고날 지혜
머리, 요시미,
오묘
머리모토, 시게카즈,
신도
모리시타, 케빈 히토시,
양아
오레시타, 로이,
양리호
브라우, 카즈지, 브라우, 카즈지로, 브라우, 마사코.
대조이 아이니 조직 녀세 사마이 지혜 이족 로세 도급은 의여시가 이사이그 이사다야 계지읍은
나가사와, 미노루,
야그레노
나카노, 토시오,
의료나셔 전영어자 그야 이사이
니시, 아키코, 니시, 키치지로, 니시, 헨리, 니시, 키지지,
인여거
니타, 히로부,
로브드레가이 무가게 무시세드도 오묘시셔 헨시셔곡 여세조짐 이진나녀 려가사붓 오그노다이치 어식이며 노조조셋 오그녀나여 니무도서 가노아이미 도다드이사이 지모라이쇼 신내드조조 이조가곡 계락의한놈 오브드시며 내가 신셔 어등한 너희 이기조요역 지모세성 지혜무게 조려시서
오하라, 노부로,
신경
오키노, 나오이치, 오쿠야마, 야스베,
쇼그도그주
오타베, 미치코, 오라, 요시카즈,
닌유
사카이 요네이치, 사키야마, 알렌, 사와다, 카츠코,
남 나 나마나브 나마나브 Namanabu
Sato Yoriko
Namanabu
Sugihara Daisuke Tamayose Wataru Tasaka Hiromi
Sai do
Takasaki Shizu Takasaki Yokinori Takenaka Hideno Teraguchi Tobe Teramura Tokutaro Ueda Yoshihiro Yamaguchi Mamoru Yamamoto Ayako Yamamoto Aeko Yamanaka Mitsuhiro Yamanaka Yoshie Yoshida Tori Yoshida Yasumatsu We will now have the Dharma talk from Reverend Grant.
I guess you were all expecting me to say if it's okay for me to talk without a mask. I noticed you're all sitting away from the the podium here, but I'm going to speak without the mask. It's easier for you to listen, also easier for the people on Zoom. Before I begin my talk, I'm just going to make a couple announcements. So starting next month, November, I noticed, December, I noticed today there are a number of people here who prefer Japanese. So what I think we'll do starting next month, our services will start at 10:30. The Shotsuki service, we will do a joint English and Japanese service. And then the weeks after that, we will have a Japanese service at 11:30. So just to let you know why we changed things, was during the pandemic. We've been holding two services since the pandemic. We separated the English and Japanese just because when you're listening in Zoom, you have a shorter attention span. So we thought if I do English and Japanese, it makes it that much longer for the service. So during the pandemic, we separated English and Japanese. So we did the English services starting at 10 a.m. and it gave me a little bit of time in between, and then held a Japanese service from 11:30. But I think in the past several months, I've noticed, particularly with the Shotsuki service, we have quite a few people who actually prefer the Japanese. So I think what we'll do is starting December, all our morning services will go back to, we used to have services from 10:30, so we'll go back to 10:30, okay? And we'll put it in the newsletter as well, but if you are here, make sure you notify others who might come for December. Let them know we're going to start at 10:30 from December. And the Shotsuki will do a joint English and Japanese, and the weeks following will be separated English and Japanese, because we still do have quite a number of people that actually join via Zoom. And so for them, if I do both every single service, it gets a little longer. Actually, though, in December, the first 2 weeks will be a joint service, because the second week is when we will be holding our Bonenkai year-end party at 12 noon. So if you're interested in joining us for a year-end party, we're going to be holding it in the multi-purpose room over there. And I've volunteered. I don't know if I should even be mentioning this, because for the Buddhist minister, well, in Jodo Shinshu, it's okay. I'm sort of preparing the roast beef. So there's going to be roast beef for our year-end party. And it is in the newsletter, this month's newsletter. If you wish to join us, please do come out. It is open to all. And we welcome anyone who wishes to join us. But you do have to pre-register. So today I'm going to actually speak both English and Japanese. ですね、今、説明させていただいたんですが、12月からはですね、特にこの小月を見てると、かなり日本語を好む方もおられるということを見てですね、12月からは、10時半、また10時半に戻ります。この、COVID-19 のパンデミックになってからですね、日本語と英語を分けてたわけなんです。で、英語のお参りを10時からと、日本語のお参りを11時半から。で、なぜこれを分けたかっていうと、この Zoom、コンピューターを通して見る場合ですね、皆さんあまり長くなると大変なので、分けてやってたわけなんです。ね。でも、今日見てたら、もう、この数ヶ月前から見てたら、かなり小月には、英語の小月でも日本語の方がかなり多く来ているので、12月からはもう10時半からすべての英語のお参りは10時半から始めますが、小月は合同でします。ですから小月だけ英語と日本語で、お参りをさせていただきます。と言っても12月の場合は第2週目も合同で10時半から始まります。それは、第2週目は、忘年会が12時から始まるので、 12時半から始まるから。それで、合同でまずお参りをして、忘年会に入らせていただきたいと思います。それで今日はですね、日本語の方もかなりおられるということで、英語と日本語で講話をさせていただきたいと思います。それではまず最初にご参礼をいただきますので、皆さんの合唱をお願いします。皆の誓願不思議に助けられ参らせてと、往生をばとぐるなり、と信じて念仏妄想と思い立つ心の起こるとき、すなわち摂取不捨の利益に預けしめたもなり、ノマンダブス。これはですね、親鸞上人の弟子の唯円坊という方が、親鸞上人が亡くなられた後に書かれた、歎異抄という有名な書物の第一章の、一番最初の説なんですが、これはですね、要は、これは親鸞上人の言葉として預かるわけなんですが、この阿弥陀様のですね、働きによって私たちが往生させていただけるという、心が起きてですね、お念仏を唱えようと思うその瞬間には、もうすでに私たちは阿弥陀様の働きに、摂取不捨の身になる。捨てられない身になるということを書かれているわけなんですね。で、これはですね、なぜこれを今日いただいたかというと、今日は11月の、小月法要、また、永代教法要を同時に、行わさせていただいているわけなんですが、この永代教法要の、報告っていうか、ニュースレターにですね、入れ忘れたんですよ。でも毎年、この11月の小月と一緒に永代教法要させていただいているわけなんですが、永代教法要っていうのは、多くのお寺の場合ですね、特別永代教ファンドっていうのを、決めて、このお寺の、維持のためにですね、例えば、お内陣の何かしなければならないとかですね。そのために特別ファンドを作って、毎年その永代教法要というのがあるわけです。で、この永代に、この仏法が続くようにという気持ちで行われるお参りなんですね。で、ここステーステンでは、特別なファンドはないんですが、数年前からこの永代教法要にですね、ここに勤めて来られた会教師、また会長さんたちの名前をプログラムに載せていただいているわけですね。ですから皆さんもこの中見ていただいたらずっとここに、歴代の会教師たちと、またこの会長さんたちの名前が載ってます。ね。で、会長さんの場合は、しばらくの間、記憶がないわけなので、それ載ってない分もありますが、一応ここに、会長を務めさせていただいた方々の名前もここに載っています。で、それをですね、見てると、なぜこの方々がわざわざ会長になられたかというと、やっぱりその人たちは何か貢献したい。そして仏教の見教えが、お寺がですね、ここにあることを維持することが大切であるから、会長になられたと思うんですね。そして、彼らの願いを今日私たちはいただいているわけです。もっと深く言えば、それは阿弥陀様の願いでもあるわけで、この、歎異抄の第一章を先ほど読ませていただいたわけなんですが、阿弥陀様のですね、願いを聞いて、阿弥陀様が私たちにお浄土に参らせたい。阿弥陀様がこの世の中に苦しみがあるから、一切衆生を救いたいっていう気持ちがあるから、私たちに働きかけていただき、それをいただいた喜びでですね、私たちがお念仏を 唱えさせていただいているわけ。これが親鸞上人の気持ちだったんです。だから私たちはこの正月法要にもですね、亡くなられた多くの方々は阿弥陀様の働きと一緒になって私たちに働きかけていただいている。そして私たちがそれの呼び声、亡くなられた方々の呼び声、阿弥陀様の呼び声に素直にこの、その願いに応じてですね、感謝の心を持って念仏唱えさせていただくのが、正月法要、またこの永代教法要の大きな意義がそこにあるっていうことを、今日、日本語でも、少しばかりお話しさせていただきました。それでは最後になりますが、皆さんともう一度合唱して日本語の方は返させていただきたいと思います。南無阿弥陀仏。南無阿弥陀仏。南無阿弥陀仏。Now you can see why I split the two services, English and Japanese, into two, because I get long-winded. And so, for those of you who don't understand Japanese, there's a period of that you have to bear with me. I'm going to now give my talk in English, and I'll begin by reading the same passage that I read in Japanese, the English translation of it. It comes from a document that we call the Tanisho, Notes Lamenting the Divergence. And this was written actually not by Shinran Shonin, who is the founder of Jodo Shinshu, his scrolls to the right of the statue. But it was actually written by one of his disciples. His name was Yuiembo. And it was written some years after Shinran Shonin had passed away. After the master Shinran Shonin had passed away, there were amongst his followers some discrepancies in the understanding of the teachings. And so this Yu Yenbo took it upon himself to write this piece called the Tanisho. It's comprised of 18 short chapters. And the first 10 we recognize as actual words of Shinran Shonin. So Yu Yenbo is recollecting his conversations that he had with his teacher, Shinran. And so the first passage, Shinran states, and I'm going to read it now. When we believe that we are to be born in the Pure Land, being saved by Amida's inconceivable vow, there rises up within us the desire to utter the Nembutsu. At that moment, we share in the benefit of being embraced and not forsaken. Namandabs. So today, we've gathered here for the November monthly memorial service, and in conjunction, we are also observing what we call the Eitai Kyo, or perpetual memorial service. And I must apologize. Once we went through the pandemic, things have, I don't know about yourself, but our world or how we do things seems to have changed a little bit. And so I get forgetful sometimes. And in our October newsletter, I forgot to put in the notice that we are observing this perpetual memorial service as well. And this perpetual memorial service, or Eitai Kyo, what it is many temples throughout the world, they'll have a special service and they'll create a special fund. And what this fund is used for is to fix up like the altar area, or when there's things that need to be done for the temple, they'll use this fund and they call it the Eitai Kyo Fund. And the whole idea of the Eitai Kyo service is that for those who are attending, there is a desire for the temple or the Dharma, the teachings, to perpetuate itself, to go on. And so here in Steveston, we don't actually have a specific fund that we call the Eitai Kyo Fund, but from about 5 years ago, we started during this Eitai Kyo or perpetual memorial service, we started to honor our past presidents and past ministers. So in your program, you'll notice a list of many of the past presidents. There is a period of time where we've lost our temple records, and so there isn't a list of president for a period of time. But you'll notice that the names are here. And the reason why we put their names on here is to honor what they represented. So by being the president or being a minister, they serve the community. And they serve the community with a desire. They obviously felt there was something important here, that it will perpetuate into the future. And so we honor them today as we observe the service. As we also observe the November Shotsuki monthly memorial service, it is a time for us to reflect. And I had an interesting experience this past week. And when we think about the memorial services, we're talking about individuals who have passed on. So we're talking about reflecting on mortality. And this normally we associate, and I can say this safely here, with an advanced age crowd, because most of the times kids are not that aware or not that conscious about their own mortality. But this past week, I had an interesting experience. I had a phone call from an individual in Edmonton. Actually, it's Jeannie's cousin, I guess, in Edmonton. And I didn't know who this person was, but they said that they have a son, and they wanted to get a butsudan, an altar, for their son. And I assumed that this was an elderly person that wants to get an altar for their adult son. That's what I just automatically assumed. But when I spoke with the individual, he said, "Well, my son is 6 years old." And I thought, "Whoa, that's unusual. You don't normally get an altar for a 6-year-old son." And he said, recently his son has been thinking about where we go when we pass away. And I guess he lost his grandfather recently. Yeah, he lost his grandfather recently, so it made him start to think of his own mortality. And this son remembered that in his grandparents' place they have an altar. So he thought it would be a nice idea to have an altar in their house. And so I thought, what a wonderful way of understanding or interpreting things. And this idea of having an altar in the house, for him, it gives him a little bit of reassurance, and also allows him to be closer to his grandfather again, keep him in his heart. And that's what this memorial service is all about, is to be able to keep our loved ones in our heart. But it is not only to just remember them, but through them, they give us the opportunity to hear the wishes of all our ancestors, the presidents, the ministers, but also the wish of the Buddha. And the wish of the Buddha is to awaken to the oneness of life, to realize I'm not here by myself, but I am here because of the multitude of lives that have affected me. And I am truly grateful on this moment, this instant, to be able to be aware of that. And this is what Shinran says in his Tanisho here. The moment that we feel the working of the infinite, joy rises within us, and we wish to place our hands together in gratitude, in appreciation. And this is the reason why we come to the memorial services, not just to remember loved ones, but through their working, we again contact the oneness of all existence. And we again express our gratitude, sincere gratitude, by placing our hands together and reciting the name of the Buddha. So at this time, if I can ask you again, please join me in Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. So just to reiterate, from December, we're going to start these services at 10:30, and the Shotsuki will be a joint service, joint English and Japanese. Makes it a little longer for people who are watching by Zoom. All the more reason why you might want to actually come down to the temple and join us. For those of you who are living here locally, for the service. But thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Reverend Grant. I'd like to now call up Ted Akune, President of the Stevenston Temple. Thank you.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak on behalf of past presidents and ministers. I think all of you are quite aware how important it is that we have the leadership so that, as Reverend Grant said, our temple will continue in perpetuity. I'd just like to mention a couple of highlights during our history, especially after the war. After the war, the temple started, and again, leadership is involved. In the mid '60s, the Stevenston Temple was on Chatham Street, and the temple was what's the word? No longer safe, and they had to close it down. So during that period, um, the temple president, the board, and the minister had played an incredibly important part because one, they had to find property, and two, they had to convince the community that this is a very, very important and good thing. And three, they had to build the actual temple that we are enjoying at this moment. So it took a lot of courage, it took a lot of leadership at that time. And if we move forward uh, and we think of just in the past less than 10 years, a number of things have happened here as well. Because I don't mind mentioning that you know that where Wisteria Place is right now, it was all parking lot. And all of a sudden, the city of Richmond, well, I shouldn't say all of a sudden, but we had to pay taxes on it. And because we had such a huge lot or a huge property, um, we would not be able to continue unless we found a way of dealing with that. And so the presidents and the board, they came up with the idea of what we have now, Wisteria Place. And it took a tremendous amount of time, of organization, and leadership. And the temple presidents throughout these periods, throughout the whole history, but in particular these areas, played an incredibly important part. And so we're very, very grateful for all past presidents and ministers. But just to highlight two of those areas, during that first period in the 60s, it was our own Reverend Grant's father that was instrumental during that time. And as you know, in the well, 2014, 2015, it was Reverend Grant and the board at that time that came up with this incredible idea. And now we look out the window there and we see the presence of Wisteria Place. So we're incredibly grateful, and and from my point of view as president, I'm just very humbled that I have been the president here just for the last few years, and I'm just in awe of all the work that past presidents and ministers have given our temple. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ted. I'd like to now do the offering of the offertory.
Please join me in God's shawl.
We will now sing the Gatha Ondoksan on page 307. If you are able to stand, please do so. Thank you. Thank you. Please be seated. I just have a few announcements for the closing remarks. On November 11th, Reverend Grant will be having a Remembrance Day service at the Wisteria Multipurpose Room. Pre-registration is required as well as masks. So if you wish to attend, please let the temple office know. Also on the Bonenkai for December the 11th, you have to pre-register. The lunch will be $25 and children under 12 will be free. In the lobby, there is going to be the Japanese grocery sales as well. We have different kinds of manju. There is a Mikasa manju, and that will be $5 for the package, and there's mochi manju for $7. So thank you for attending and safe travels home. Thank you.
Thank you to everybody who joined by Zoom as well. And Remembrance Day, it's not my service, it's a Remembrance Day service.
Yes.
I'm participating in it. And also, I forgot to mention that on November the 13th, the Sunday from 2:00, we are actually having the 753 ceremony for children who are turning 7, 5, 3. So in Japan, it is seemed to be good fortune if your child survives. For girls, it was 3 years old initially. For boys, if they survived to 5 years old, it meant that they were going to most likely live on, basically. Infant mortality was quite high in the past. And then 7 is a year, believe it or not, in Japan, where girls are introduced into womanhood in the past. So the 753 ceremony was for those, for girls, it's years 7 and 3, and for boys, when they turn 5, they have this special service. So we've been holding it here in the past number of years, and we're going to be also doing the ceremony at 2:00 on November 13th. Next Sunday. So if you have any grandchildren that wish to join, again, you have to pre-register. Please contact the temple office for that. Okay, thank you. And when you come and get your home meal, please take the right one, because we sometimes end up with somebody else. There's one left over because somebody took the wrong one.